In a small village, three peculiar monks traveled from town to town, spreading joy wherever they went. They were unlike any other monks the villagers had ever seen. They didn't preach sermons, teach scriptures, or offer blessings. Instead, they laughed loud, hearty, uncontrollable laughter that echoed through the streets like music. No one knew their names, so the villagers simply called them the Three Laughing Monks. Their arrival was always heralded by the sound of their laughter. Children would drop their chores and run after them, their giggles mingling with the monks' contagious joy. Adults, curious but cautious, would gather to watch. Soon, even the sternest faces would crack into smiles and burst into laughter. It was impossible to resist. One day, the monks arrived at a particularly somber village. The monks stood in the village square, looked at one another, and began to laugh. At first, the villagers were annoyed. How could these strangers laugh in the face of their suffering? But as the laughter continued, it was as if the monks' joy pierced through the gloom. One by one, villagers started to chuckle, then laugh, until the entire square was filled with the sound of shared mirth. For the first time in months, the villagers felt light again. The monks stayed in the village for several days, bringing laughter wherever they went. However, on the fifth day, something changed. As the sun rose over the hills, the villagers noticed that only two of the monks were laughing. The third monk sat quietly, his face serene but devoid of his usual mirth. The other two monks continued to laugh, but their laughter carried an unusual solemnity. The villagers grew curious. Why isn't the third monk laughing? They whispered among themselves. Has something happened? Finally, one brave villager approached the monks and asked, "Why does your brother sit silently today? Has he lost his joy?" The two laughing monks paused briefly, their eyes sparkling with something deeper than joy. "No," one of them said. "He had passed away." The villagers were stunned. "But how can you laugh when your brother is gone?" they asked, bewildered. The second monk smiled gently. "Our brother lived his life teaching the greatest lesson of all, that joy is not bound by circumstance. His laughter was his gift to the world, and now his silence reminds us that life itself is fleeting. He would want us to laugh, not to mourn." The monk's words spread through the village like wildfire. People began to reflect on their own lives, their struggles, and their grief. They realized that, like the monks, they too could choose how to respond to life's challenges. Laughter, they learned, wasn't about ignoring pain or pretending everything was perfect. It was about finding light even in the darkest moments. By the time the monks left the village, they had transformed it. Feuding families reconciled, farmers found renewed energy to tend their fields, and the villagers began to embrace life with a newfound sense of joy. The laughter of the three monks continued to echo in their hearts long after they were gone. Years later, a traveler passing through the village heard about the three laughing monks. Curious, he asked an old villager about them. "They taught us that life is like a river," the elder explained. "It flows whether we laugh or cry. But when we choose to laugh, we don't just move with the river, we dance with it." The traveler smiled, feeling the weight of the story settle in his heart. He realized that the monk's lesson was not just for the villagers, but for everyone.